so great to be here all together.
I thought you were just being like the Queen, Kimberley, and making us wait.
I'm not that big-headed, babe. You know me. Do you know what I mean? Always keep it down to earth.
Amazing. Yeah, so we've just been chatting a little bit about how we've been finding lockdown, and just asked Caz as well what inspired her writing. And now there's lots of comments on our page. Everyone's saying hello, which is brilliant. So
I'm really sorry, like, honestly, but I just couldn't get onto it. Like, I've just had to make up a new password, do this, do that. You know, when you've just come out of a little afternoon siesta, you don't need all this. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know if I was coming or going. And little Vinny's turned. Meantime, he wants feeding.
No. Only you could have a siesta that finishes at 6:15 on a Thursday night, my love.
It shows you how hard you work with Kim, doesn't it?
Amazing.
The thing we were just discussing, and now everyone's going to see the lovely relationship that Kim and I have. How have you found your creativity during lockdown, Kim?
Oh, I had a great lockdown, do you know what I mean? But that's another story. But no, I mean, listen, I think it's been difficult for a lot of writers. I think even though we're used to sitting in and writing, I think the fact that, because at the gym, sort of going to the gym and everything, like seeing the girls and coffee mornings and all that sets me up for the day. And even though I've been training a lot indoors, it's just not the same. Do you know what I mean? So, because I haven't got that routine as what I did have, because I do love a siesta, obviously not normally getting up at 6, but when I get up early, normally I go to the gym, I'll see the girls, I'll have a coffee with them, come home, I shoot somewhere after, whether it be into Romford or a supermarket, come home, and I might have a little sleep then, and I'll sort of get up about 3 or 4, and I'll start writing. I can perhaps write till 1 or 2 in the morning, but I think it's very hard to sort of stabilise yourself. Even though I've tried, I've been on the treadmill. It's when you haven't got to get up for something, or because I go to the gym, I do classes that start normally at 9:30, you know. And I think when you haven't got that stability in your life, I've just found it quite difficult. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have. And Caz was just saying, she's, normally you can juggle a day job and then you switch off and then start writing of an evening. You both write of an evening, and it's hard to do that when you're working at home and then writing. It really is.
But I am, I am happy. I'm halfway through the book now. I'm happy with it, and I shall crack on now. And Kim, it won't be long. Trust me, I should be.
Amazing. I think that everyone out there will be very happy to hear that. So everyone, please do start commenting your questions away throughout the discussion, and we will answer them as well. But I think first of all, we kind of teased this situation earlier on, but I think what would be a brilliant first question for both of you. I'm going to bring it up on the screen so everyone can see us, see what we're talking about, which is, how did you both first start writing?
Who do you want to answer first?
Would you like to go first, Kim?
Yeah, whatever. I was 38 driving a minicab. And I was doing nights around Romford, and I just thought, I can't do this forever. It was all right, but and the money weren't bad, but it had gone a bit downhill because we'd lost Hollywoods and sort of the big clubs. And I just thought, I ain't going to be able to do this when I'm 50 or whatever, so I just thought, I'm going to have a go at writing a book, and that was how it started, really. I just had a go at writing a book, and that was Billy Joe.
Amazing. I love that. And then how did you first start working with Kim as well?
When your life really changed.
But me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. When did I start? Oh, when I love my life really, really changed. Yeah. She was brutal. I'll never forget the first time I got to #1. She was brutal that day. Do you remember, Kim?
No.
You do. I got to #1 and I said, it was my first ever #1 with Playback. Do you know what I mean? It was our first book with words.
It was the first book together, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it was totally unexpected. I got to #1 in hardback, and I said to her, at least this gives me a little bit of breathing time in the next book. She went, no, it doesn't. Do you remember, Kim?
I do, yeah. Well, you were having too many siestas then as well.
Yeah, I think I was having a siesta not that day I worked, so I was too I just got to #1. You know where I'm coming from. Yeah. Do you know what? It worked for me in the right way, because I'm not a person. I don't think back then I was still living on a council estate. I don't think I could have. I don't think overnight success would have been good for me. Not just, and I've always been quite good with money, so not money wise, but like just I don't think it would have worked for me. I think the way it's come to me in bits and and sort of even money wise, everything like sort of went up in stages. I think it's been it worked the right way for me. And I think the fact like my name sort of grew and grew and grew, rather than it be overnight success. I don't think that would have worked for me. I think that must be difficult, especially for a lot of first-time authors that are, big name that come out with this big bang. I'd rather have worked and worked and worked at it, and then suddenly you sort of get there. Do you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Yeah, and I guess I also we kind of heard from Caz a bit about how she first started writing, but we did preempt a bit on how how all three of you have a really fun connection. So I think I'd love to hear this story if someone wants to tell it.
Oh, shall I start?
Caz, start.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was just telling everyone before, Kim, about how I came to start writing and how I really loved the gangland thrillers and loved your books, and so it was. But I'd approached so many agents about The Boss, and I'd had lots of rejection. So it was a friend of mine who's a writer, Mary Torgerson, who said, "Oh, Kimberley Chambers has got an event at Waterstones. It was for Life of Crime. Come along, and we'll have a really nice evening." So I went along. I was sitting in the audience, as I said, thinking. And you had the big posters for the Queen of Gangland Crime. I remember thinking, I would love to be sitting there one day, but it's just never going to happen. And then I think I asked you in the event about any advice you had. And then afterwards, I think people were getting their books signed, and I saw Kim standing on your own, probably enjoying a bit of peace and quiet. And a
glass of wine, I think.
A glass of Prosecco, yeah.
I don't drive.
I rudely interrupted you. I'm just
the other way.
I think I rudely interrupted you and asked you just if you had any advice, and I can't even remember but you told me, I think, to tell me what my book was about. I can't even remember what I said, to be honest, because it's just you asked me to send it to you, and that was it. That's how it all began.
Amazing. So you sent your book in to us basically via both these two lovely ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was, and as I said earlier, I think every editor is ultimately looking for a writer. And I think, as I said to you, Caz, I have got my personal hands full with Ms. Chambers. So when you work with an author in a genre, you can't always take on another author in that area because your commitment is to your own author. And obviously, Kim and I work together and have, despite what she says, a good relationship. So I think, as I said, like, you worked in probation office, you were a probation officer, and you just needed that little bit of help, I think. And so I said I wouldn't ever be able to sort of work with you directly, but I could certainly get someone to read it and give you some advice, which I did, and connected you with one of my colleagues. But we're always looking for new writers. And I think you, a bit like Kim said, you didn't quite know where to start, and you came to the event and gave it a go, and you had already finished the manuscript. So it was brilliant to be able to connect you with my colleague, and it's brilliant to see you starting to write this series and start your career at the beginning. It's brilliant to be able to support you in a small way in that.
Yeah, so amazing. And then now we're very lucky to publish you, Caz. So it's all, it's all worked out for us in the end, which I love. But I think that, that's just so wonderful that you, helped out in this way and created this opportunity for a new writer. And I know, Kim, that you are you run like a Kickstart bursary as well, or you're setting one up. I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about this.
Yeah, it was set up. I think we announced it. I think it was a crime fest. I don't know if I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. It was the first one, and it went down really well. We had some really good entries. I mean, obviously, I don't get the chance. What happens is sort of HarperCollins, like, they pick the wheat from the chaff, but I did take it very seriously, and I read every single entry that was handed over to me in full, because I think it's not fair if you don't, especially when it's in your name. And there was some really good entries, all different, and But I think though, by the time someone won it, but I think there are a couple that was in the top 5. By the time we sort of contacted them, I think they got a minor book deal or something, because we had to check it out first. But yeah, so we're doing it again this year. I'm not sure what the date is this year. Kim, can you help me on that?
No, we're just finalising it, so we can put the information. So the Kickstarter is, as Kim said, like a prize that she does, which is really to give a new writer a kickstart in their career. So we did a cash prize. We did it with Crime Fest last year. We might do it with them or a different partner this year, and it's just open to everybody to send in the opening chapters. And it's just for us. And as I said, Kim reads all of the finalists. We sort of do a long list for her to just give someone a start, because that's what you need. I think everybody, needs to, a lot of people have a story in them, but they won't necessarily be able to do the storytelling. But we can often give people with the real raw talent the tools to do it. So you get obviously some cash, whether it's to take some time off work or to get some equipment, some advice from a publisher at HarperCollins, and then an offer of representation from Kim's agent who works at PFD. They did go on to formally represent the last winner, and that will really give her a huge advantage in her career, because they're such an amazing agency. So it's been brilliant. So we'll
amazing.
We'll put the information up.
Can I say else in this? Because the advice I was given at the start, anyone out there who wants to write, I'm a massive fan of the Writers and Artists Yearbook, and I'm so proud I've got my own article in there now, because that was the advice that I was given at the beginning. I didn't have a clue what to do. I didn't know you needed an agent, but I was told by like Pat, who's like my second mum, Pat Fletcher. She said to me, you need the Writers and Artists Yearbook. She said all your literary agents are listed, and that was the stepping stone for me, because it was so easily written. Like someone like me who comes off a council estate, and I'm not used to big words and things like that, but it was so easily written. Like it was so understandable. Every bit of advice they give you, like, they said sort of polish up the first. Most agents want the first 3 chapters, polish them up. This is the only thing you've got for anyone to take notice of you. Put in a strong covering letter. A good synopsis. And I remember writing one of the funniest cover letters ever that went down in living history, but because of the advice that the Writers and Artists Yearbook gave me, do you know what I mean? And I can't pick that book up enough. So anyone who contacts me regarding writing a book, that is the first advice. I have people sort of contact me and say, oh, can you have a word with your editor? Well, that's like contacting Harry Kane and saying I can play football. Can you have a word with Mourinho to get me in the first team? It don't work that way. Do you know what I mean? So you're better going via the Writers and Artists Yearbook.
I love that. That's brilliant advice. Brilliant. Cool. Well, we've got some questions along here, which I'm going to bring up as a starter as well. So we've got lots of amazing comments. So from Beverley, do you both choose your book titles before you write the book, or is the title decided during writing stories? Good question.
Want to go first, Caz?
Yes, of course, Kim. Oh, do I want to go first? Sorry. No, I don't choose my titles at all. I'm terrible at titles, as my editor will say. So I just sort of title them. I mean, the boss did have a different title. It was called Beyond Redemption, but that didn't work. So my editor and the publishing team come up with titles, because I'm awful at them. So sorry. The 4th book was originally, it's just called Bad Blood 4, but now it does have a title. It's called Liverpool Loyalty. So
I like that, Liverpool Loyalty.
Yeah, it's a great title. What about you, Kim?
I've chosen all my titles apart from Life of Crime, which Kim chose.
Oh.
Kim chose that. We wanted something different, and I thought, do you know what? Do you remember the Tainted Love Row, Kim?
Oh God, here we go.
Kim hated the title.
I did hate title, yeah.
For it.
And when it got to number 1, Kim obviously was very generous in her feedback to me.
No, I do. But this one, the one I'm currently writing, it's the start of a new series. It's been quite difficult, I think, because I've come away from Queenie again. And obviously, that's the 5th or 6th of a Butler series. And when with a series, you've got to make the characters different. So they can't be nothing like the Mitchells. They can't be nothing like the Butlers. And I think I've managed to do this in this one. And I'm really happy with it. I'm halfway through, obviously, the first book in the series. I'm happy with it now. And I've changed my ending about 4 times, but I've got a good ending now. So I shall crack on from now. I'm sort of halfway there.
Amazing.
I haven't got a title. We haven't got a title. I might let Kim chip in on the title on this one. But I have got a list of titles. I've got a book where I've got about 150, 200 titles written down on. Some other authors in the genre, I've taken some of those titles. I suppose great mind thinks alike. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I've still got a lot of titles. But we'll have to. Kim's going to read the first sort of quarter of it, and we'll go from there and see. She's going to read the first third of it, and we'll go from there and sort of come up with a title. Because obviously, start of a series, you want a decent title.
Yeah, fits. Amazing. So then my next question for you guys is one that I find really interesting, the answer to, is what inspired you to write in this genre specifically as well?
I think I answered that one before, didn't I, earlier?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that before, Caz, didn't we?
Yeah.
So you want me to answer?
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, I think you're always better. It's another question that writers ask me, and I think you're always better writing about something you're interested in and in a genre you're interested in. And Martina brought this genre out, we're good pals now, which is cool, do you know what I mean? But I loved her books, I used to, every Christmas, like my mum, that would be one of my presents, the latest Martina Cole book, in hardback. And I remember divulging in that, as soon as I got a chance after Christmas, whether it be between Christmas and New Year, I'd just lay there for 2 days and read every word of it, and take it all in. And I think, I think there's a crime genre is a big genre, but I think there's so many police procedurals and that. I've always loved it from the other side of the fence, where you're reading about the villains and their families and, getting it, or the gypsies or whatever, but so I decided to, Martina opened the door for writers like me, and there's who was another good pal of mine. Then, I remember, I used to buy all my books off Pat, and she said there's another author out in the genre, Amanda Suella, and I bought hers. Hers were great, set in Manchester. And there's the, lovely Sheila Quigley, who recently passed away, R.I.P. Sheila, because I thought a lot of her. She was a lovely lady. So they were the first sort of 3 to come out, I think, in that genre, And I think you've got to write about and write in a genre you're interested in. If it's done it for you, why shouldn't do it for other people?
Yeah, definitely. That's really great. That's very inspirational as well. Then my next kind of question, which we've getting some questions along here that kind of relate to this one, which is specifically about characters. So for both of you guys, your strong characters are the heart of your books. How do you go about planning these characters, and are they inspired by anyone, or how does that work for you?
You go first, Caz.
Okay. I don't really plan my characters. They just sort of form in my head. Yeah, and I can't really explain the process because there isn't really a process, and each character is formed quite differently. And again, they form as I'm writing. So I'll start with a very basic idea of, this is, who the person is. And as I said, when I started writing The Boss, it was about, Grace and Nathan. And then he just developed into this criminal. And again, as Kim said before, you write what you enjoy. And I enjoy that, the gangland thrillers, and I enjoy, that writing those. So I suppose that's why it came out. But yeah, my characters just sort of develop as I'm writing them and develop in my head. I haven't got a plan. And as I said before, they're not based on anybody that I've ever met in probation.
Disclaimer.
Talking to characters, one of mine's just turned up at the back door. I'll go and get him.
Oh, God. I love it.
Very intrigued.
Do you know, someone's just asked a question which I think relates to this, which I think is really interesting. Mark, Whitney, why do you think women authors rule the roost in the gangland crime genres? Yeah. I know Kim's just gone to get the cat.
There we are.
Oh.
Hello, Vinny.
Hello.
Why do you think that is, Caz? And Casey, someone's just asked the question, why do you think women authors rule the roost in this gangland crime genre?
I really don't. Well, Kevin Lewis, I think, was the only man I know writing it. I don't know any other men that have particularly
I used to love Kevin Lewis's books.
Yeah, I did. I love Kevin. I don't know why he stopped writing. I don't know what happened there, but I love Kevin Lewis's books as well.
Me too.
I wonder if because a lot of the books, although they're about these really, these villains and these gangsters and really, nasty characters, some of them, aren't they? I think they're also a lot about family and relationships, aren't they, at the heart of them? And I think maybe women are good at writing that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you might be right. Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on there. I think so. I mean, they could come across to some people, I suppose, as like a soap opera, but at least like, that's what I enjoy doing anyway, and creating characters. The only thing I try never to create a similar sort of character, So like I think it's been tough for me in this one because I can't create another Queenie and Viv. I can't create. It would just come across like Queenie and Viv reincarnated. Do you know what I mean? So I've had to sort of. But I've got a proper pair of little blonde twins in this one that are entirely different than I've ever created. They remind me a bit of Charlie in Born Evil. And they've had a tough upbringing. The mother's a junkie. Do you know what I mean? She's an heroin addict, so they've had a really crap start to life. Yeah. And one's a psycho to start with, and then the other one has something happen to him where he becomes just a psycho. He's his brother. So as the series go on, I'm really looking forward to developing these two because I love a psychopath.
Yeah, everyone does a bit, but like Caz was saying that she just writes her characters. Have you been planning them, like, right, are they all in your head and then you just start writing them as well, or how do you approach them, Kim?
Yeah, no, I mean, as I said to you, like, because I know this is the start of a series, I mean, Queenie, I wanted to be like Queenie in the beginning, and Viv, I thought I'll make these two funny, the sisters, like, not got a good word to say about anybody. I tried to take the Butlers well away from the Mitchells because, like, Eddie Mitchell was quite different to Vinnie Butler. So I think every time you create characters, especially if you're going to be part of a series, you've got to look at something different to what you've done before, which is what I've tried to do with this. Do you know what I mean? Donnie Bond, the main character in this book, is quite weak at the beginning. He's not weak. His dad's like inside for like his dad's banged up like at the beginning of the book. He's a cop killer. He killed a policeman that sort of come onto his property, so he's doing life inside. And Donnie's quite weak in comparison. Do you know what I mean? In the beginning, so I think it's good because it takes him away from Eddie Mitchell, it takes him away from Vinnie Butler, and he's completely different to any sort of main character I've created in the past. I think you just got to look at something different.
Definitely.
So Kim, you're writing your 15th book, and Caz, you're writing your 4th. Kim, have you got any advice that you could give Caz in terms of, does it get easier or harder?
I think it's our 16th, babe, actually.
16th, oh God, sorry.
You made a clock up there. I think Life of Crime was the 13th, then we had The Sting, then we had Queenie. I think this
that's fair.
So many you lose track.
In my defence, we've still got Queenie paperback to publish, so I'm still in Queenie world.
Yeah,
you're always a book ahead of me, Kim, because I haven't seen this one yet.
No, it's all right. You'll be all right with it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm lucky. I've got that instinct as a writer to know I had to rip up like sort of 8 or 9 days' work a couple of weeks ago because I just knew I'd come in from the wrong angle and it was crap. So it's good to have that instinct to know it's crap. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It does get harder, yeah. Caz, it does, because obviously you've been over so many storylines, and but I'm bringing. I think like I love writing. I started the gypsy trend, doing the feud, the traitor, and the victim, and I think like a lot of jumped on the bandwagon, and good luck to them. But I think because I sort of like grew up with like, gypsies and knocked about of them for so many years, I think you've got to have done that to really get it spot on. So I'm bringing another gypsy family into this. They'll be coming in probably the last third of this book, and then they'll be in it for the series. So I think I think it's time to view the traitor and the victim. Do you know?
Caz, what are you finding? Are you finding it easier as you go along or harder?
I'm finding it easier because I'm writing a series on it. It's my first lot of series, so the characters for me are really developing, and it's good to bring new characters in. But some of the characters who were in the first and second book, and seeing how they develop throughout the series, so I'm finding that much easier. But I suppose I often wonder when people have wrote lots and lots of books, how do you keep coming up? I mean, you still keep coming up with amazing storylines, Kim, and amazing characters, and I hope that I'll be able to do that. But at this point, writing the Bad Blood series, I'm feeling each easier because I know the characters so well now.
Yeah,
they've lived the past 4 years, so.
Definitely. Well, we've got another question here from, we've got lots of comments, but I'm going to bring up this question because I think it's a good one for our next question. From Noelle, Caz and Kimberley, how has your background, personal and or professional, influenced your writing / storylines?
Go on, you go, Caz.
Oh, I don't know how to answer that one. I suppose my professional background has I've always been interested in. The reason I became a probation officer, I've always been interested in why people do the things they do, and everything's not black and white. You know, people commit crimes and are violent or become like, you know, Nathan or little Vinny or the butlers for very different reasons, and everybody has different life experiences. And I'm really interested in how, particularly childhood experiences, and that's part of the job I do now, impact on us as an adult and shape our, you know, our beliefs, our behaviour, the way that we react to things. So I suppose that was what that real interest in why people do the things they do was the part of the reason I started writing The Boss and really exploring that relationship between Nathan and Grace. And then it's just been helpful having that criminal justice background, just knowing things about licence and prison and how things work and sentences work like that. So that's for me, I suppose.
Are you writing full time now, Caz, or are you still doing?
No, I'm still a probation officer.
Oh, you still are, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. It's all good for the writing, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Me, I was always a counsellor growing up. I never knocked about with the right people, and I just ventured into a life of crime myself at one point, and it just seemed right to write this genre. So it was, I've never knocked about the angels of Dagenham, put it that way. I grew up in Dagenham, didn't I?
Yeah, amazing. Well, we've got a fun question here, which I think will be a good one. From Beverley, do you enjoy killing off your characters? How do you both plan that out in your books?
Can you say that again, babe?
Do you enjoy killing off your characters?
Oh, yeah.
How do you both plan that out in your books?
Do you want to go first, Caz?
If you don't mind, Kim. So yeah, I love killing off some of my characters. I don't know what it is, because I do love some of the characters as well. But yeah, it's just great, and I don't plan it out. It just sort of happens as I'm writing it. I think, oh, yeah, and then sometimes I get a bit like upset. I get quite massively upset, but I'll be upset about it and think, but if it just fits the story, and it just tends to happen rather than planning it. I think, yeah. But I do enjoy killing characters.
Yeah, well, it's part of the story, so it's, you know, I guess you're in the flow.
I think from my perspective, yeah, I mean, there's two I haven't really liked killing off, but I mean, I never shed any tears over it. But one, I mean, I think Payback, probably, if someone had to ask me my favourite book, I would say Payback. It was my first number one. It was Little Molly. Do you know what I mean? She was a darling little girl, but like, you know, that's one of my favourites, and probably my favourite killing, but not for the right reasons. And another one I think was Viv, like, her to go at the end of the Butlers. I think it was time to freshen Queenie up and give her a new relationship with Joyce. Do you know what I mean? And show how the world had changed by that point, and it was not longer safe to walk down the high street like she could once upon a time without being taunted or robbed, or do you know what I mean? And yeah. So, and the world has changed, and yeah, so that's that really. But I don't get upset when I kill off characters. Like, I couldn't kill off an animal. I'm all right chopping up a person or a kid, but not an animal.
Yeah, fair enough. I know there's some, pets or just animals. So.
Or dogs. I can't kill off a dog. I mean, if I kill off a dog, it's got to be past tense. We can't see it happen.
No. Definitely.
Why are you trying to Kim?
I wouldn't want you to kill off a dog. I often get a late night text saying, oh yeah, I've just chopped off something, or I've found a way of torturing this person.
Amazing. That's kind of Mark's just commented / asked, have you dismembered anyone today? So
no, I did the other day though. I've dismembered one this week.
Let's stick to one a week.
It's a busy week.
One a week's got well on a pig farm, so that was good. Yeah, it was a good way to go because he wasn't a nice person, Eric.
No. Love it. My next question that I'm going to bring up for all of us is that both of your series have such brilliant settings. How important is setting to you for these books, and why did you choose to set them in these places?
Go on, Kate. I've got to let the cat out.
Okay. I am similar to what Kim said before about write what you know. So I've lived in Liverpool all my life, grew up there. I've been fortunate enough to travel, but I'm very much a home bird. And also, I don't think there's any gangland crime thrillers set in Liverpool, and it's such a vibrant, got such extremes of poverty and and wealth and so much going on there. So I just thought, yeah, why not set it in Liverpool and write what I know. So that was really why. But yeah, the setting in Liverpool is a very important part of the story for me. Yeah,
definitely. Love it. What about you, Kim?
Well, I always think it's better, as I said about write about what you know, I always think it's great to be able to write about areas, and so I've sort of settled mine in, even though we've had car chases down from Glasgow at one point in The Victim and things like that, I think it's better to set him in the areas, like whether it be, I've tried to I've done one in sort of Stepney Green, one in like the Mitchell series started in Canning Town, then they moved to Raynham. I mean, obviously coming from Dagenham, I know all these areas. I worked at East End markets for years. Whitechapel was one of them. So I've tried to set up areas that I know. And for the pure reason, you remember shops that were there, the pubs that were there. And I think it's always good to have a bit of reality about the books, and the roads that come out of these areas. He was bolting down the A13 in his car to get to Aunt Rosie's or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I like a bit of reality in the books. Obviously, as the Butlers Club was called the Butlers or whatever, that wasn't. But everything else in that book, all the other pubs mentioned, everything mentioned, was all real.
Amazing.
I think, that authenticity comes through.
Yeah.
Certainly, in both of your writing. Because if you don't know, there's a difference between sort of adding flavour and knowing the flavour. And you can't necessarily always capture it. I think people can research and can get it in, but there's just a sort of natural flow to it, just becomes part of the story.
I must admit, I haven't read any of Caz. You'll have to send me one of Caz's books, Kim.
Yeah, I will do.
Fab.
We've got a fun question here from Glynis. Since lockdown, have you found any neighbours who'd be ideal victims in your books?
I'm lucky.
Glynis, you wicked person.
Classic Glynis.
No. Oh, me too. I've got absolutely lovely neighbours. My neighbours, so no. Sorry, Glynis, to give a boring answer.
Yeah, Glynis, do you have any neighbours that you think would make ideal victims for the books? Perhaps. I was saying Glynis might have some neighbours that would be good victims.
If you've got a particularly good character, Glynis, who you'd like us to kill off,
just let us know. Yeah. Amazing. I've got a question from Jackie here, which is more for Kim, obviously. Did Kimberley prefer writing about the Mitchells or the Butlers?
Both. I enjoy writing about both. I think that if I had to choose one, I'd say the Butlers, I think, because I don't know, because I think Queenie's a little bit of me, and I think I love writing about a psychopath. So I had Vinny and then little Vinny, so there was two psychopaths in there. So I'd say the Butlers.
Amazing. Well, I've got another question here for you both, which is more about plotting. That is, how did you approach writing these books? I know a lot of people like to know how authors do this, whether you plot thoroughly or do you just see where the writing takes you?
Do you want to go first, Caz?
Okay, thanks, Kim. I don't plot at all. I tried plotting actually for book 4 just to see if it would make a difference, and actually I think it's just slowed me down. So yeah, I'm not a plotter at all. I'm not a planner, I'm very much fly by the seat of my pants and let's see where it goes. So,
I'm exactly, Caz, best way to go. I'm exactly the same. I chose an ending for this book that I've got now, totally changed now. I chose an ending for The Feud. The Feud was going to be a one-off book, And I got to the end of it, and I was actually going to kill Eddie Mitchell off, do you know? And I thought, do you know what? I like this character. I can squeeze a bit more out of these. That all changed. Yeah, I think you've got to let the writing do the talking, and that would be another advice to me, which I've done. What I try and do is plan my next chapter as I go along, which I didn't do so much in this, which I've started to do again now. As I finish one chapter, I just write about 6 paragraphs down for the next chapter, like where we're going to go with it. I'm about to jump on after this next one. We've just had 3 chapters in this year, which I think is 1985. I'm just about to jump onto the raid scene now of 1989. Do you know what I mean? So, but what you've got to do is a bit boring at first. You've got to remind everyone, like, how old the kids are now, what they look like now, this and that. But I'll tell you what I didn't do in the beginning, which I'm annoyed with myself in this one, apart from putting the music in from the era, I didn't put anything else in, like what was going on in the news at the time. I've done it in this last part, which will help me out massively in the long run. So it's only the first 2 sections I've got to do that in now. Because from now on, we've just had like, you know, the miners' strikes finished. I've put in like the Heysel Stadium disaster, Bradford Stadium disaster. So I just look at what happened in that year. So that helps out in the long run, because someone can just pick a paper up or be talking about it, and it brings the era back to people, like whether it be music or disasters or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. Yeah, do you do that as well, Caz? Like make sort of references to the year or look at it in that same way?
Well, mine are all set pretty much now. In the Boss, there was it went back a little bit, but it was I think there was such short chapters and there wasn't enough of it to do that in. But I think I would like to write a book that spans, you know, like a good few decades, because I think you can explore the characters so much, can't you? You know, their children. And so it's a really good tip. Thanks, Kim, to do that, actually, to put the music in and the news and the things that are going on. So it just grounds it in that era for people, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love doing it, you know, and I do. And I haven't, as I said, I didn't do it in the first 2 parts of this, but I'll do that in the next draft. Do you know what I mean? But other than that, I'm going to do it the rest of the way through, because it saves me doing it at the end.
And Caz, how are you going to deal? Because I know Kim's books tend to be set back in the day in various eras, but yours are more up to date. How are you going to deal with lockdown?
Books unfortunately happened before and after. I'm just not even going to approach lockdown. I'm not sure. Yeah, because I'm not even going to touch it. But whether that will be, because in my head it's just the last book 3 ends just before lockdown and book 4 starts after it. So I'm not going to mention it.
Yeah, it'll be a little blip in the world, right?
Yeah, I just think people read Gangland Crime to have a bit of escapism, don't they? And to read things that, you know, I think most people don't ordinarily get a glimpse of. So who wants to read about lockdown when you're picking up a thriller?
Right, mate. I'll make you right there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Well, I'm going to go run through some of our last few questions here, because we've been having a lovely chat. But yeah, I think I'm just doing a shout out for any last questions, and we'll run through them now. But a question here from Sharon is: have you invented any new characters during lockdown?
I bet that's my mate Sharon.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Sharon.
You answer PG, Kimberley.
Your name in a book, darling. From the woman's name was Maz Bond into Sharon Bond, because you wanted a part in my book. So yes. And she will have a dodgy ending, trust me. Do you know what I mean? But you've been my best lockdown mate, so she might end up all right, actually, because like she might end up killing her old man instead. We'll see. Do you know what I mean? But you've been my best mate during this lockdown. I couldn't wish for better. So yeah. So we've got Sharon Bond in the thingy now. I had to scrub out Maz earlier on because she wanted to be in it. What about you, Caz? Have you just been, continuing on in any new characters to the series?
There's quite a few new characters in book 4, but they were already there in my head, and so I haven't created them during lockdown. But I'm certainly writing about them during lockdown, so learning a lot more about them. Because I don't know about you, Kim, but I learn so much more about them once I start writing, and it'll be they've become much more fully formed once I'm writing them. So I didn't create them, but they've certainly developed during lockdown. Yeah.
And do you ever, if you meet someone in real life, do you sort of put them in the book if you want to kill them off? If you like mentally think they've really pissed me off, I'd like to kill them, or actually I really like that person, they're going to get a role?
Do you know what I mean? I mean, what can I say? But
You put your cats in, Kim.
yeah, I'll put the cat in. Yeah.
Caz, what about you?
No, I haven't, but I suppose when I hopefully if I get to write as many books as Kim, there'll be plenty of people I can put in there. But I haven't needed to just yet. But who knows? I read that
people when I chop a toddler up or two. Do you know what I mean? I do. I pull some eyes out, some teeth. There is a few off.
Amazing, I love it. Kind of on the same similar vein, but from Jackie is a question to both. Does your mood affect the killing? So I guess, you know, the type of killing that you do.
Yeah, mine can a bit, to be honest. If I've had a bad day, someone's got to kill it.
I don't know if the mood affects the killing for me, but yeah, if I've had a bad day, it's good to write like a bit of a scene where you're going to kill somebody, or it's good to get that sort of frustration or annoyance out on the paper, isn't it? But I've never really thought about it, to be honest. But it's definitely a good way to unwind for me, anyway. Writing.
I see a question here from my good friend Emily Ruston, who I know, Caz, you know, and she's asked who would play the leading lady in the TV of your book, TV or film of your book. And usually the question's who plays the leading man, so it's nice to have a leading lady question. And Kim, you, Queenie?
You play Queenie.
Oh, well, the Smiths already, she's signed up to play the role of Queenie. Well, not signed up, but like she's agreed to play the role of Queenie. Sheridan has. So that's great. We're about to. Obviously, everything got put on hold because of this crap. Do you know what I mean? Like we're all sitting indoors, but like hopefully we'll be going with it soon. And I mean, I couldn't wish for a better Queenie than Sheridan. Do you know what I mean? She's an amazing actress. She was fabulous in Scylla. She was great in Mrs. Biggs. She's got that way to play that. That sort of old school. She can sing, she can dance. She's just a fabulous actress and a very all-round grounded girl and entertainer. I couldn't wish for anyone better than have Sheridan on board, that's for sure.
Yeah, amazing. It's exciting. What about you, Caz, or in a imaginary cast?
Yeah, I suppose everybody thinks about who to have their book turned into a series or a film, don't they? So I have thought about it, and I thought Jodie Comer would be an amazing Grace, but she's possibly a bit, because obviously Grace is in her 40s now, whether she'd be too young. So then I was thinking about someone who could do a really good Scouse accent, and Charlotte Ryan, I really like her as an actress, and she can do amazing accents. I've never heard her do a Scouse one, but I'm sure she could. So probably be here.
Amazing. More questions on sort of the film line. One of them, for instance, is from Anne Miller. If you were to have the Butler series made into a film, who would you choose to play the character of Vinny?
Bobby Cannavale. He's American, and I hope he can do Cockney. Tell her to look up Bobby Cannavale. He's the perfect Vinny.
Amazing.
By miles. I've always seen him. He was in Boardwalk Empire. He was in. He's been in a couple of other things. He has got that dark hair. He plays the best psycho I've ever seen anyone play a psycho. I'm a massive Bobby Cannavale fan.
Oh, I know who you mean. Yeah, he's fab.
Yeah. He played Jip in Boardwalk Empire. Jip son. Yeah. He's fabulous. He plays the best psycho ever. He had there was another show he was on. It was about vinyl. I think it was called Vinyl, actually. It was something to do with the record industry. And he played a proper cocaine-addicted psycho in that. He's got that look, and he's got the Vinny look, and providing he can do Cockney, it'd be my Vinny all day long. I'm on the beer here, but it's only Beck's Blue, by the way.
Amazing. We better let him know. Actually, this is I think that we should explain this a bit more because we've got a couple of questions, which is, sorry if I missed something here, a TV series? So maybe...
No, what's happened is, like... HarperCollins took an option out of my work. We got a production company involved, and a good friend of mine's writing it, Jeff Dean. He used to be the lead singer of Modern Romance and Leighton Buzzards. He's an ex-pop star, great guy. We're very good friends, and so he's doing the script writing on it. what happened was, like, I got friendly with Sheridan. We just met on Twitter, and like I showed it to her, and she attached herself to the role of Queenie. So that's great to have the attachment, because when we go into ITV now, or whoever, Sky, which hopefully will be in the next few months, you know, to say we've got this, and we've also got Sheridan attached herself to the role of Queenie, you know, that gives it much more oomph to sort of someone to take it, because Sheridan's such a great actress, obviously, and she's so popular, you know. So, yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. Listen, I don't ever, you know, what happens, but like it. But the good thing about it is, if it were to take off, we've then got Sheridan that can play. Because I ended Queenie in sort of 1965 when the trap started, the first of the Butler series. So we've got the rest of the series where Sheridan can go on playing Queenie. Do you know what I mean? So it's let's see what happens. You know, there's no point counting your chickens for their hatch. Do you know what I mean? But and it won't be the end of my world if nothing happens, because writing good books, I'm happy with that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But it'd be fabulous. I know Sheridan would do me proud.
Definitely, that would be, yeah. So everyone, fingers crossed, and we get out of lockdown and we can get this show on the road. Hey,
hopefully.
Yeah. So we've got a quick question here from Beverley. She says, do you both read other gritty crime authors' books, and who's your favourite?
Go on, Caz.
Well, yes, I read lots, and obviously Kim is my favourite.
You're just saying that, babe. You don't say that here with me.
No, I do love Kimberley's books. I love Martina Cole's books as well, and I also really like Manda Sue Heller's. There's loads of really good gangland authors out there, isn't there? And Emma, I've read some of her books. They're really good. So I just think there's loads of really good gangland authors out there.
Definitely.
And my answer, I'm not much of a reader. I'm terrible. Do you know that? I don't like reading my own genre anymore. That's the one. And do you know what? I don't think I'm not sure I've read one book this year. That's how bad I am. I've tried to read a couple, not in my genre, and I've not really got on with them. I quite like a psychological thriller or something these days, because it just takes me away from what I write. But I have just ordered Gypsy Boy or something, I think it's called, off of. I can't get into anything, so I thought I'll have a go with this. And I had a couple of people say to me it's really good, so I've just ordered that. But I'm not. I know it sounds terrible. I think because I write for a living, I like to. I've been going on the ID Murder channel, and I've been watching all murders of late. Like, I've been getting off on them, so I've not really been into the book. So before I go to bed, I'll just watch murder after murder. I mean, is that wrong?
No, I don't think so. I think you just, whatever. Hey? Amazing. Cool. Well, I'm gonna ask what I usually ask as our final question, because we've, I know we could keep chatting for ages and ages and ages, but I think we've been chatting for about an hour now. But it's gone so quickly. It's been so much fun. So my final question, for not only all of you, but also everyone out there, so please respond with your final comments and final thoughts on this question, which is, what would you say about the book when pressing it into someone else's hands? For the series, all books.
Guys, could you repeat that, babe?
What would you say about the book when pressing it into someone else's hands?
Well, I'll start it, shall I? You said series as well. I'd start them with. I think I'll start them with a trap. I'll say A Family Full of Not Rights. But like, if you like a bit of humour and you like a bit of gangland and you like a bit of, psychopaths, you'll love it.
Love it.
And I like the fact that, I've had so many people come back to me, especially with the trap series. I think that. That I've had people who are carers that sort of got 92-year-old, I think it ranges for such an age gap. Do you know what I mean? I've had people say their 15-year-old dyslexic kid likes it and can read it because it's so easy to read, yet there's 94-year-old Ethel in the care home who can't put it down, and she's saying, oh, look, what's going on here? I think it's having that range of, being able to sort of not just, appeal to one audience, but to be able to appeal to a whole, load of people, from young to very old. I think that's a good thing
Yeah.
to do with your writing. So I think that's another thing, and a tip I'll give to anyone who's going to write. Don't just appeal it to the young or the middle-aged or the old. Appeal it to the lot. Do you know what I mean? Have the nutty gran in there. Have the young psychopath. Have this and that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's like what I would say too, like for both, for both of you in all of your books in this genre, it kind of has everything in it. You know, you've got your family feuds, you've got lots of like, especially Kim, your books, like a lot of history and, but also, very lots of drama and, thrills going on. So it just, anyone will read it and love it, basically. What about you guys? What would you guys say?
Caz?
I suppose I'd just say that I hope you enjoy. I don't know what you can say other than I hope you enjoy it, and that it brings you a few hours of pleasure or escapism or whatever. Yeah.
Sorry, Caz. I would just say about the genre. I think you said earlier that, like, for people who haven't tried the genre, that they shouldn't judge it. They should read it and then figure out if it's for them. Because, as you said earlier, I think family drama is always at the heart of it. And just having such a wide cast of characters, and like in Kim's book, she brings so much humour and, that sort of, sense of period and sense of like nostalgia into her novels. And I think there's such scope to them. So it's family drama with like gritty crime, not necessarily the other way around. And I just would love people who haven't tried the genre to start with, two very different authors here, but don't judge it until you've read it.
I agree with you, Kim, because I think the genre, especially like in our world, like to some in our world, is very frowned upon because it's not. It's a weird genre because it's not like, it'll never go up for, listen, I'm lucky I got the Specsavers Award, like for selling $250,000 on paper, but I'll never be up for any awards, you know what I mean? Because I think, because it's like a common sort of, I think people look at, I think a lot of authors and readers are very, middle class, not knocking anybody, but like, I think it's looked at like the Jeremy Kyle genre, do you know what I mean? And it's not all about that, it ain't, because we can still tell a good story from our end, you know what I mean? Like people like me and Caz that have lived normal lives, and you haven't got to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth to become a writer. And I think no one can tell it better unless you've lived that life yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That completely sums it up. And we've got some, you can see just here from all these amazing comments that people are saying, this is how other people are describing it. Gripping, fabulous, fan bloody-tastic. Beverley, it's a must read. Glenna says, family full of not rights. I love that. Emily says, fierce leading ladies, complex family ties, strong moral code equals cracking stories. Love them. And just everyone else is commenting, saying, thank you so much for a lovely evening. Really lovely last message from Elaine. Absolutely brilliant evening with you ladies. Kimberley, you are an incredible author, my favourite. I love your books. And Kelly also says, brilliant girls. Can't wait for all the new books. So lots of new books to come, aren't there, guys? We're excited.
And I'm sorry I was late on here.
No, don't worry at all. Don't worry. No, thank you so much to you all for joining me tonight. It was so much fun to chat with you all, and thank you everyone out there for joining us too. So I'm just going to disappear away, Kim and Caz, and then I'll just tell you about what we've got coming up next on our book club. But thank you so much to you all for joining us. It was so much fun.
Thanks for inviting.
Bye.
Really good.
See you. Bye.
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 2, 3. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. What a fantastic discussion. And thank you so much for all your questions and comments too. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just going to quickly tell you about our book club next week, because we have book clubs every week here at One More Chapter. And I'm going to be joined by Julie Kaplan and Alex Brown. They're two brilliant authors that write wonderful, heartwarming fiction. We'll be discussing their latest books, The Little Tea Shop in Tokyo and A Postcard from Italy. So whilst we can't go away right now, which is difficult, we can certainly have a staycation all together. So I can't wait to be virtually whisked away next week in our book club. But thank you so much again for joining us tonight. It was just a really brilliant discussion. So I look forward to seeing you then, but have a lovely rest of your day and evenings, and bye for now.